Having the upfront cash to make a purchase is a great feeling, and debt generally is labeled as a bad thing. However, in some circumstances for some purchases, it is more financially beneficial to avoid paying the full amount upfront. And if you understand the mechanics behind this idea, you will save tens of thousands of dollars throughout your years. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about why wealthy people, and I'm talking really wealthy people like millionaires, multi-millionaires, will generally still opt in for the home loan option or the mortgage option instead of paying a property off in full upfront. And it will be beneficial to understand what I'm about to discuss, even if you, the viewer, right now at this point in your life isn't rolling in millions of dollars of cash. The key points to take from this video are the principles behind why wealthy people do what I'm about to explain. This is, like I said, it's the most important thing to take from this video. Really wanted to put some emphasis on it before I really went deep into it. Let's get on with it. Before I understood why, it just sounded crazy to me that a wealthy person would go out into the world and take out a mortgage or a loan for a sum of money where they would then have to drip feed interest to pay off that loan over a period of time when they could have just paid it up front in the first place. It just seems a little bit backwards. And just to keep this video simple, I'm going to use the example of an investment property where someone would take out a mortgage on that particular type of property. The first idea that I want to touch on is where interest rates are currently sitting. They are the lowest they have ever been, which makes a mortgage an easy asset to service in terms of its repayments. If a wealthy person can borrow from a bank at, let's say, under 3%, maybe under 4%, around those marks at the moment at the time of recording this video, they could then use the liquid cash that they were potentially going to put into that mortgage and have chosen not to now to invest elsewhere in assets such as cryptocurrency or maybe the share market, where they could actually build their wealth significantly faster based on the returns from these other asset classes over the past 30 years, let's say. And to build on this further, most lenders today will offer their customers something known as an offset account, where if you're unfamiliar with what an offset account is, I have linked a video down in the description below explaining everything about an offset account, insides and outs of how they work. And I think it's a pretty good watch. So definitely feel free to check that out after this video if you don't know the intricacies of what an offset is. And while you're down in the description, and while I can take this opportunity, if you could tap that like and subscribe button, I really do appreciate the support and it really does help the channel grow. But just as a quick recap for the sake of adding context to this video, an offset account is a bank account. You can put money into it, you can take money out of it. And the whole concept of what it does is it just offsets the amount of interest that you might have to pay on that mortgage or loan that you've taken out. So they are a very useful tool and I highly encourage you to learn about them. Generally, most lenders will offer some type of offset with any type of mortgage that you're taking out, and wealthy people are quite aware of this and they can be more beneficial for reasons why I'm about to explain. A wealthy person with an offset account could literally offset their entire loan whilst having liquid cash to invest in other assets if opportunities present themselves. As a very simple example, let's say a very wealthy person bought a property for $1 million, which means they took out a loan of, let's say, $1 million. They borrowed the whole thing somehow. And then they had $1 million cash sitting in their bank account. Let's say they put that $1 million into that offset account. Therefore, they would be paying no interest on that loan whatsoever. They would absolutely be paying their principal repayments every week, fortnight, or month, whatever they've set it to, but they wouldn't be paying any interest on the loan, which is a great thing. Now, let's say over that 30-year period that something happened where, like Bitcoin, for example, crashed back down to $10,000 from its all-time high, which we have seen happen before. Let's say this investor, this wealthy person, wanted to take that $1 million out of that offset and then buy Bitcoin with it because they thought that it was going to appreciate handsomely and definitely grow at a faster rate than the value of the property. This is a prime example of how a wealthy person can use a mortgage to get ahead without it costing them too much by literally just saving their money, their liquid cash, in a bank account like an offset, while still borrowing that full amount and dragging out a normal loan, as like most people would pay off their homes every single year of the entire length of the loan. To add another layer to this, the value of that property would absolutely increase in value over time. So let's say they held it for 5 years or so and the value went up by another $200,000, because that's what seems to happen with the housing market at the moment. It just keeps going up and up and up. Generally, property continues to grow in value. It is something that is becoming more scarce. The land, especially component of it, land is becoming more scarce in Australia, even more so. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that they could take out a mortgage and harness the use of that mortgage to buy an asset that's going to appreciate in value while still having access to all of their cash sitting in that offset account. And it's going to cost them I'm going to use the word peanuts in terms of repayments, because all they're paying is the principal on that loan over time. It's just like multiple layers of benefits to a wealthy person taking out a mortgage over paying in full upfront off a house. And this ultimately is just one very good example of why a wealthy person would be wise not to lock up all of their liquid cash in a single property and pay it off in full. That's just one aspect of this. The next aspect that I want to touch on is tax. Now, depending on where you live in the world, there will be a whole swag of different tax benefits that you might experience based on this exact scenario. In Australia, for example, for an investment property, you can literally claim the full amount of interest that you pay in a financial year against your personal income tax. This is known as negative gearing, which I have made a video about, and I have linked it below if you were interested in learning more about that topic. To add to this further, there are lots of other deductions that can be made against a property or someone who owns an investment property from their taxable income in Australia as well, such as maintenance costs, any improvements to the property, which are kind of broken up into different financial years because they get depreciated. It's a whole nother topic. And the last one is any bills that you pay on the property that you might need to pay up front. And whilst this may seem like a bad thing, it's actually a really good thing, because let's use me as the example. I own an investment property right now, and I've talked about it in other videos as well. But the key concepts that are going to tie into this video specifically is my house right now is done up to the point, because I take care of it, where the rental income that I receive from it is actually paying my house down at a rate faster or higher than what I need to actually contribute of my own money. This means the person renting my house is paying my house off. It is positively geared. I am not contributing any of my own personal income to that house. The value of that house has also gone up, which is a good thing for me technically, because when I go to sell it, I will make a profit on it, which is an exciting thing, absolutely. On top of this, again, my taxable income, I am a high income earner. I fall into a very high tax bracket here in Australia. Realistically, if I can reduce my tax every single year as much as possible, this is a good thing as well, where at the moment, this house in particular is positively geared. So I'm not really reducing my tax, but technically I am, because ultimately it's paying itself off. The point overall is that I am doing everything that I've already discussed in this video. So I'm getting the benefits of the setup of having a mortgage instead of using my liquid cash to pay off my property. I'm also seeing the benefits from taxation when it's negatively geared. Now that I'm falling into the back end of it, where it's kind of that offset account's really building up and I'm looking to purchase another property. That's a whole video for another day. But the point overall is that this is a very efficient way for wealthy people to continue to build their wealth. It's not a brag. It's kind of like a trade secret. Learn about this. And if you learn about it, then you can put yourself in the same position to do the same thing. And just to set the tone, I've kind of worked it out. And overall, by doing it this way, I will most likely, if things continue to go the direction they are going, I'm going to save somewhere in the realm of $150,000 off of my tax based on the previous years where it's been highly negatively geared. And when I eventually buy another house, it will become negatively geared again. I've done the math, and it will roughly be somewhere in the realm of $5,000 to $10,000 a year in savings, which is a great thing technically. And on top of that, like I've just said, the appreciating concept of the actual asset itself, it being positively geared and paying itself off now, it's all beneficial. These are things to take note of. These are things to learn about. The payoff can be really, really good if you understand how to set it up in a way that is optimized to work best for you. And the beauty of this is that you do not need to be worth millions and millions of dollars to do it. I myself was not worth millions and millions of dollars before I started doing this. I saved my pennies, and again, I've made videos talking about how I did it and how I got to this spot, and everyone is in a different scenario. However, most people should be able to work towards something like this where the payoff eventually will be worth it. That's something that I really want to put some emphasis on as well, is that it's achievable. It is something that people can work towards. It won't be easy, but it is achievable. And this really kind of brings me to the summary of today's video, where I really wanted to contextualize that just people who have millions of dollars in cash will not just go out and buy a house outright unless they're worth like millions and millions of dollars and have the luxury of being able to do that. However, they definitely would be assessing what is the best decision or course of action with their money. And I guarantee you that a lot of them have mortgages for this particular reason. To kind of go against my point here as well, there definitely would be people who are not so risk savvy, who don't want that debt looming over their head. That is absolutely fine as well. If they decide to pay off their mortgage early, no problems whatsoever. They will benefit in the long run as well. I'm just trying to contextualize that people who want to invest their money elsewhere, such as myself, I like diversifying my assets into different asset classes. It's really important to understand that this is one of the best ways to approach this topic. Ultimately, a mortgage can be painful for people who do not know what they're doing, whereas it can be a tool for wealth building for those who know how to optimize it to work in their favor. And hopefully now, reaching the end of the video, I have clarified why wealthy people might have a mortgage, or someone that you suspect probably doesn't need to have a mortgage. Now this hopefully clarifies why they might have a mortgage. It's really a simple topic. It's nothing too complex today. It's just a bit of a discussion, but I really wanted to just talk about it, get it onto the big screen, because a lot of younger people, especially that I talk to, some people have reached out and asked me questions as well in particular about this, and it's a really good way to clarify. I think it really sets a tone that just because someone is rich doesn't necessarily mean that all of their money is just going into one asset class. And that's where I'm really going to leave you today. I don't really have much more to say. If you did have any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comment section. That's what it's there for. And that's pretty much it. I'll leave you there. Have a good day. Have a good week. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.